So, I'm pretty sure that at least half of my audience is built by people who have drawn at some point in their lives. And you know what that means? That you may have that one old cringe-worthy piece of art, or pieces of art that makes you want to crawl into a hole and stop existing. So let me do the introduction properly. Hi, my name is RGB. Today, I'm digging into my archive of terrible art and redrawing some very embarrassing drawings in celebration of my most recent art style upgrade. But before that, you know that this video is being sponsored by the Join Unvale, right? Unvale is simply the best platform for artists to showcase their OCs. With its completely AI-free policies, you can be sure that Unvale values your artistic integrity and projects. The website is always walking towards improvement in order to become the optimal artist website. You can create worlds to store your OCs in, the character profiles have so much space for you to info dump and develop your babies even further than you already have. You can trade OCs, share your thoughts and ideas with other artists, and with its newest feature, the community, it has never been easier to find and connect to new folks. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description to join Unvale now, and don't forget to follow me over there. Also, we're almost hitting 10k, so you bet that the next video is definitely going to be me drawing the OCs you submitted under the hashtag RGB milestone in Unvale. So don't forget to click the link in the description. Anyways, starting off, I chose a few of my old drawings that are the most remarkable to me inside my head. At the time I worked on these art pieces, I was the profile of an ultimate anime fan. I'd liked cute anime girls, big sparkly eyes, cat girls, maid outfits, nyan cat, Nightcore songs, and overly edgy stories. Not only that, but I was the type of kid that used Japanese usernames because Japan was the peak aesthetic to me. Yeah, okay, you can throw rocks at me or something. I wasn't personally someone who created fleshed out OCs. I would at most give the designer created a name, and Kaori, sorry, is the prime example of that. She's just the type of character you'd expect someone like teenage RGB to create. And you know what? I don't cringe knowing I was like that or looking at my old art anymore, because I can understand what an important part of myself as a person that time was. I wouldn't be the same RGB who is here today if I didn't make these funky drawings, so I'm more than happy to know I used to draw like this at some point. You can clearly see that my lines are much bolder and my anatomy skills hopefully improved a lot since then. I decided to not change her character design too much, like at all actually, because for some reason I'm really fond of this OC. I actually really wanted to do these redraws in traditional art since, you know, originally they were made traditionally, but it's a little sad to say that I've really detached from drawing traditionally, not only because I mostly draw only for my channel, but also because when I'm not drawing for my channel, I am on my full-time job, so I pretty much need to juggle everything together, and at the end of the day, I don't find enough time to dedicate to traditional art, which is really a bummer because I'm pretty sure teenage RGB who worked on these drawings was so excited to do traditional art. Maybe one day when I have more time and more materials, because when I do draw traditionally, I only use a simple pencil to sketch in anywhere really. I don't actually have a sketchbook I use often. I'll try to have a sketchbook again so I can showcase to you guys someday, but no promises, okay? Speaking of sketchbooks, I actually have one sketchbook that is Undertale themed, and it's the only sketchbook I have stored ever. It's the only sketchbook I kind of finished and the only one I still have currently, because every other thing that could fall under the category of a sketchbook I don't have anymore. So, surprise, a little sketchbook tour. Warning, this is extremely cringe-worthy and I'm so sorry for putting you through this, but you clicked on the video, so you're going to have to look at old art. So right away you're going to notice that this is a cringe festival. This sketchbook is full of Undertale and mostly only Undertale and Undertale AUs I've used to do at that time, because at that time, as you can see as I'm characterized in the video as Frisk, I was into Undertale. It was my biggest fixation, and to this day I think I've never been so interested in a game or any type of media so far. What you're seeing on the screen may be incredibly unsettling, but let me tell you very heartwarming stories while you get jump scared by some things and while I censor some things that are way too terrible for me to show you because they look so bad, and even I have my standards. This part is incredibly unscripted, so bear with me a little bit while I gush to you about Undertale. as you're probably gonna see in the end of this video and in the sketchbook tour, Undertale has always been such a big thing for me. It was the piece of media I was the most interested in, the most involved in. It was so bad to the point that I even wrote fanfics, and I'm not a writer and I'm not good at writing. I used to watch videos about it, many gameplays, I used to play the fan games, I used to read comics, I used to read fanfics, I used to write fanfics, I used to do fan art. It was just a game that really changed the chemistry of my brain, and I'll never be the same. And it's really no surprise that I'm so into Deltarune right now. And in celebration for this sketchbook and my old art, because I have so much more old art that is lost forever in time, I decided to redraw some sketches of Kara and Frisk because they were my favorite characters if you ignore my Sans obsession I had. I think everyone had a Sans obsession, and now I just hate him because of Deltarune. Isn't that so funny? I decided to redraw one of the first sketches you see on the sketchbook, where Frisk and Kara are both wearing skirts and they have little bowls on their head, and Frisk is holding a bowl. I didn't only redraw that specific skirt scene, but I also decided to make an extra little drawing of my interpretation of Frisk and Kara, because at the time you can notice I illustrated them as much older looking, like they were very much older than they usually intend to, because I used to see them as teenagers with around 14 or 15 years old, but when you grow older, I think you notice that they're supposed to be much younger. I kind of see Frisk and Kara as being around 9 to 8 years old, like real children, because they are referred to children in the game very often. So talking about more of the drawing aspects, this specific piece I've drawn in Clip Studio Paint, differently from my drawings I've been doing often that are done in Sai. And I have had a really hard time for some reason. I've drew around 3 to 4 drawings in Sai, and I already got so used to the pen pressure and everything else that when I came back to Clip Studio, I struggled with the brushes. I chose the brush I used to make line art for my OC redesign videos, where I do the character reference sheets. I think it's a little harder to understand if you don't actually do it yourself, if you don't actually experience the difference between the two softwares, but it made such a huge difference, and the only reason I'm actually using Clip Studio Paint was because I really wanted at least a little bit of the video to be recorded with its time-lapse feature, because I wanted to do things a little bit different. Most of the video I recorded my screen, which I don't usually do, and then I did a little bit in Clip Studio Paint, and then there's a little bit of the sketchbook tour, so I'm trying to put a lot of content inside one video, so it's more fun to watch if you're looking at the screen, of course. So for the next drawing, you can actually see a little bit more about my tastes at the time, I guess. This is a nameless character who I didn't previously give a name, differently from Kaori. Right now I decided to rename her as Cringe, but with a K, so she can start with a K, just like Kaori. We'll be giving her a slight redesign in order to remove some specific details about her that brings me some bad memories. So, long history short, you can notice how in the original drawing there's a little pudding on her shirt. Or, well, that's something that is supposed to resemble one. And it has a reason behind it. At the time, I used to be a real fan of Gato Galactico's animation series called Coelho. And they have this one song about a pudding that gets smashed and dies. And I really liked this song, and I really liked the series. And because of that, I affectionately nicknamed a boy that I liked as Pudding. It's kind of cringe. The boy was an asshole, and he did some really shitty things to me, but it's a story for another day, and I did get revenge at some point, so we don't go out of here without winning, guys. I guess old art really tells more stories than you'd expect it does. So for her redesign, I decided to give her more of a scene aesthetic thing with her hair. I know it's not completely scene, she just has the big puffy hair scene girls usually have. But I believe that the few alterations we did on her is already good enough. It helps balance out her colors and make her outfit look more fluid, and I actually really like her, and I think she would be roommates with Kaori. We just did a little lore for the ugly characters I designed when I was, I was like 10 or something? I don't know. I'm not good at math. Was I 10? That was 10 years ago. 10 years old! I was 10 years old! Was I 10 years old? I guess I was. Anyways, it doesn't matter. This video really brought back so many memories, and I still have a lot of drawings I can make redraws of, like this you can see on the screen right now. If you want me to redraw a specific one, you can just comment in the comments, and maybe make a short of me redrawing it. What do you guys think? I think that's a really fun idea. But also, a little thing you need to know specifically about this drawing and the colored pencils used in this drawing. So when I was younger, I had many different art supplies I really wanted. They were like the token items I really wanted to have because I saw so many videos of colored pencil drawings and so many videos with specific pens for line art, and I was always like, oh, I don't have anything, but I really wish I had something to do so my drawings could be like more special or something. And art supplies are so expensive in Brazil, or generally in the city where I live, because it's not a capital, it's just like a little city in Brazil. So it was really hard to get art supplies in general, so my standards were pretty reachable and not that difficult. But the things that I wanted were still very expensive, so you can expect how happy I was when one day my dad came up to me and gifted me Faber-Castell's box of 48 colored pencils. I was ecstatic and over the moon, and if you take a look at these specific drawings, it has some of my favorite colors from this specific box of colored pencils. And the thing is that you could only get these pencils if you got the more expensive boxes of pencils, and I was so extremely happy that I think I've used in every single drawing until the things ran out. It was like a few weeks later and the pencils were gone because I used them in so many different drawings and so often that I was like, Daddy, I don't have colored pencils anymore. And he was like, oh wow, how? And I was like, I drew so much. And then that's the story of how I completely obliterated a box of colored pencils. Anyways, this is the end of the video. We've reached the end. I'm not going to make such a long video, so this is the appropriate length. I'm going to show some of the results here on screen like I usually do, and I really hope you guys like my new art style and the direction I'm taking the channel with. I know I do a lot of redesigns, but I want to tone down those a little bit because I'm not having so much fun as I were before. So I hope you guys will be with me when I try to tackle things that are more art directed, like challenges, and overall things that are more related to art itself and not a specific genre of art videos, okay? So if you watched the video up to this point, thank you so much. I know you are a very special one because people don't usually watch up to this point. And if you have any specific stories with old drawings or any old drawings that bring you specific memories, feel free to share with me in the comments. I love reading all the stories you guys have, and I really like talking with you, so never be afraid to comment because I see each and every comment. And I usually don't do social media plugs, but I would really appreciate it if you follow me on Instagram, Tumblr, or even Twitter, maybe. I'm trying to be more active and post more fan art that I actually can't post much here in video format. Thank you so much for watching this video. Bye!